ChristWay, good morning. You made it. I promise you're here. We love you so much. Let's go ahead and stand and worship together. Oh, come, let us worship our King. Come, let us bow at his feet. He has done great things. Oh, see what our Savior has done, and see how his love overcomes. He has done great things. He has done great things. Oh, hero of heaven, you conquered the grave. You free every captive and break every chain. Oh God, you have done great things. We dance in your freedom, awakened alive. Oh Jesus, our Savior, your name lifted high. Oh God, you have done great things. You've been faithful through every storm, and you'll be faithful forevermore. You have done great things, and I know you will do it again. For your promise is yes and amen. You will do great things. Oh God, you do great things. Oh, hero of heaven, you conquered the grave. You free every captive and break every chain. Oh God, you have done great things. We dance in your freedom, awakened alive. Oh Jesus, our Savior, your name lifted high. Oh God, you have done great things. And hallelujah, God, above it all. Hallelujah, God, unshakable. Hallelujah, you have done great things. And hallelujah, God, above it all. Hallelujah, God, unshakable. Hallelujah, you have done great things. You've done great things. Oh, hero of heaven, you conquered the grave. You free every captive and break every chain. Oh God, you have done great things. We dance in your freedom, awakened alive. Oh Jesus, our Savior, your name lifted high. Oh God, you have done great things. Oh, you have done great things. Oh God, you do great things.
Darkness tries to roll over my bones, when sorrow comes to steal the joy I own. Brokenness and pain are all I know. I won't be shaken. I won't be shaken.
ChristWay, what is up? I'm James Howard. I've been told no dumb jokes this week. And honestly, that breaks my heart. But what's a fella to do? It's time for you to be in the know. So Larry the Lobster and Sam Clam were lifelong best friends. You almost never saw the one without the other. Jesus doesn't call us to be busy. He calls us to ministry. And the cool thing about ministry is that it's not about what we do for God, but what He does through us. We want to help you find your place in ministry as you use spiritual gifts to serve others. We are offered a class. It's called Why Serve? And it's all about finding your ministry. It's a 1-hour class for folks who are considering serving in a ministry at ChristWay. It happens Sunday, March 26th at 9:15 in the ChristWay Theater. Why serve? Love is why. This year, we were able to give the gift of vision at our clinics in Honduras, and for what I've been told, it was pretty incredible to see something as simple as a woman actually being able to thread a needle, or a man who was able to read his Bible for the very first time in years. Between now and our trip to Honduras next winter, we're collecting unisex readers in all strengths. So if you have some lying around your house that are still in good condition, please consider donating them. Now, if you find a fantastic sale on readers and think somebody could use those, well, we can. We'll collect them at Connection Central until we go again. Look at us planning for next year. That's pretty far-sighted. See what I did there? Many of you know that ChristWay is an elder-led church. We believe that this is biblical, and you can check out lots of information about elders and their role by visiting ChristWay.church. Now, we have 4 new elder candidates, and we are currently in the middle of 21 days of prayer for them. The new candidates are Tim Burnett, Andy Hughes, Thomas Powell, and Dave Smith. Please be in prayer for them, and if you have any questions or concerns, you can email elders@ChristWay.church. Parents of 4th and 5th graders, this one's for you. It's time for Quest. ChristWay Kids will be taking 4th and 5th grade kids on a weekend adventure to Camp Living Stones in Englewood, Tennessee. This is an intentional time of outdoor fun and challenging team-building activities, along with engaging teaching, worship, and small group discipleship. Sign up, start today. But if I were you, I'd sign up as soon as possible. Spots are limited, and the last day to register is April 16th. Parent-child dedication is a really special time to gather with family and friends to make a promise before God and how you will choose to raise your child. This event happens on Saturday, March 25th, and you can register online. That's ChristWay.church. But here's the important part. Today is the deadline. If you are a new parent and a ChristWay partner, then sign up today for parent-child dedication, which happens March 25th. So St. Peter says to Larry the Lobster, "What happened to your harp?" And Larry says, "You're not going to believe this, but I left my harp in Sam Clam's disco." Sorry, that one just sort of slipped out. Find out more at ChristWay.church. I'm James Howard. Now you are in the know.
Good morning, everybody. I'm so glad you're all here. Wow, are y'all asleep still? The hour really got to us. Tell you what, the hour really got me, but I way overslept, so it's fine. Well, I'm thankful and grateful.
I'm so sorry.
Well, okay, good. That wasn't weird at all. Okay, anyways, I'm so grateful that I'm here, and I'm so grateful that you're here this morning. If you are new with us, I would just like you to grab this blue card that's in the seat back in front of you. If you'll just fill out the bottom portion or scan the QR code and fill it out that way, and take it out those double doors over to Connection Central when the service is over, and they will hook you up with a free gift. All right, so recently we've been talking about the perfect plan, or John has, not me. John has been talking about the perfect plan, and today we're going to continue that idea by covering a conversation that Jesus had with some religious people that was pretty intense. So I'm just going to pray for that, so if you'll bow your heads with me. Dear Heavenly Lord, Father, we're so thankful to be here this morning, God. I just pray that everything that John says this morning comes straight from you. And I pray that those words lay on our heart and resonate with us as we continue our walk with you, Lord. I'm so grateful that every single person is in these seats this morning, Lord. It's in your name I pray. Amen. Y'all have fun.
So you're missing that hour of sleep, right? You just feel like, man, but we're glad that the sunlight, we got longer days, so let's get excited about that. And help me along today, because I know we got a lot of sleepy people, and it's a rainy day, and it's cold, so help me along this morning, because we got some fun things to cover. Hey, speaking of, it's really cool to see what God's Spirit is doing here in our gathering at ChristWay, and the comment has been, he's kind of given us a joyful uncomfortableness. Like we're willing to be uncomfortable because we've got this joy, and that's exciting. So this morning, okay, if you're having a hard time waking up, get up, turn around a couple of times, all right? Ask your neighbor to get you going, because we got to take off this morning. We don't have time to hold back. We got to take off. Speaking of, hey, Easter, wanted to let you know that Easter, we're going to actually have a Saturday night service, okay, for a Saturday night gathering, and 2 on Sunday morning, so that, hey, if you want to, you can come and serve on Saturday night and go to gathering on Sunday morning, or you can vice versa. But we're asking all of our partners, if you will, to help us out with that Saturday night, so that we can make this a good experience for everyone who needs to hear about the amazingness of the resurrection. So we started, as Zoe gave you, we have started this series called The Perfect Plan. And now what that is talking about that week right before the resurrection, okay? So we know that Easter, we're almost at Easter, right? And so we're talking about what happened that week right before the resurrection. And that's a lot, because do you know that John, almost half of the Gospel of John is just about that 1 week. So it's a really important time, right? And Luke and Mark is a third of the Gospel is just that 1 week. So we're looking at it. Now, last week, if you didn't get a chance to be with us, we talked about Jesus's triumphant entry. He came into Jerusalem, and it was a parade, and everybody was cheering for him. But the problem was, and we saw this, is that the people were actually making Jesus the king they wanted instead of the king they needed. A lot of times we talk about how we do that as well. We'll make Jesus what we want him to be instead of who he needs to be in our lives. So that was where we were last week. And so the parade took Jesus all the way up to the temple in Jerusalem. And then he gets off of his donkey, and that's where we're picking up the story, okay? After the parade, he's gotten off his donkey, and he's at the temple. Now, if you can imagine, right, at this point, everybody's thinking this is the point where Jesus is going to go into the temple and just claim his rightful place. He's going to tell everybody, I'm the Messiah. He's going to take the seat of honor. So everybody's like watching him go into the temple and like, this is the moment. This is the moment. Let's get excited. And so Jesus starts into the temple, and he sees the money changers. And he sees things going on in there that's not the way they were supposed to be. Now, this is the point I have a lot of people tell me, well, see, Jesus lost his temper too, right? When people lose their temper, Jesus lost his temper. Remember in the temple? Jesus did not lose his temper, okay? Jesus knew what he was doing, right? Because actually the Gospel of John says that Jesus took a moment and took some cords and tied them and wove them all together and made a whip. So he knew what he was getting into, okay? So the disciples, they're all going into the temple expecting it to be great and all that. And Jesus is holding back and they're like, Jesus, come on, man. What are you doing? Jesus is like, yeah, hold on just a moment. I'm about to show y'all what I'm going to do in there, right? He's tying it. He got it ready and he cleared the temple. And that was the moment that all the religious people, I mean, if you're wondering how everything turned, right? Because everybody's cheering one moment. The religious leaders decided Jesus has got to go. That was their point. They were like, okay, that was over the top. He ran everybody out of the temple. This Jesus has got to go. Problem is, think about this. Problem is the crowd are all for Jesus. They're all cheering for him. And they're like, how are we going to get to Jesus when the crowd is cheering for him? We're scared of the crowd. So the religious leaders, they were afraid to really confront Jesus because of the crowd. So they said, what we have to do is we have to make the crowd turn on him. So that was their plan. So the religious leaders, they came together and says, how can we trick Jesus up into making where the crowd could see this guy's just not everything? And so they put together a plan. And that is the conversation this morning that we're going to look at. It's going to be a lot of fun. So this is where we're going to start out in Matthew 22:15. He says, then the Pharisees, right, went and plotted how to entangle Jesus in his words. Now, the Pharisees, some of y'all know who the Pharisees were the religious leaders, right? They were the Sadducees and the Pharisees. The Pharisees were the ones who said, there are 613 laws, that's not enough. So the Pharisees actually put some more rules and wanted everybody to follow even more rules than the Bible had. And that made them not very fair, you see. You'll remember it though. You'll remember it, right? So they're not very fair, you see, because of the fact that they're carrying all the rules. So they're saying, we're going to tangle Jesus. And it says, they sent their disciples. Now, the reason is, you have to remember now, that the Pharisees, when they would show up, they would have all these robes and these head garments and all that. And they were just like, you would just pick them out easily in a crowd. And so they didn't want people to see everything coming. So they sent some of their disciples that would not be as noticeable. So they sent his disciples to him along with the Herodians. Now that sounds like a really odd word. All it is that people from Herod's household. It could be family members. It could be people from the political palace, right? But it was people sent from Herod, right? From the ruler. So they sent the Herodians, people from the palace, with them as well, saying, teacher. Now, I mean, all of y'all y'all been in a sales pitch, right? You've seen when people are selling you, and they're playing you up, and you're just like, I see what you're doing, right? That's what's happening here. They're playing Jesus up, and Jesus is like, I see it, right? And so this is what happens. It says, teacher, we know that you are true and teach the ways of God truthfully. Jesus is like, yeah, come on, get to your point. And you do not care about everyone else's opinion, for you are not swayed by appearances. She's like, okay, all right. Got us all worked out. What's the question? So they go on. They say, tell us then, what do you think? Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? And so they think, we got Jesus now. Either way he goes, we got him. If he says, yes, pay Caesar taxes, then the crowd's going to go, whoa, no. We want Rome gone. You're supposed to be the one to lead us away from Rome. You're not telling us to pay taxes. And so if he says, yes, pay taxes, then the crowd's going to turn on him. But if he says, no, we're done paying taxes, then the Herodians, right, they're the political people, they're ready to arrest him because that's treason against Rome. So either way he goes, they're like, we got Jesus. So Jesus does like Jesus does, kind of plays a little coin trick. Hey, let me see your coin, and shows them the image and kind of gets them all confused and sends them on their way, and they just kind of walk off and go, I don't think we got that. What did Jesus say? Jesus like, yeah, all right, you got to send someone better than that. So next up to bat, here we go. The next, he says, the same day, the Sadducees came to him. Now the Sadducees says, who says that there is no resurrection. So the Sadducees are the ones who say there's no resurrection. They don't believe that there's anything after this, that there's no life after death, that there's no heaven, that everything, when you die, you're just dead. And that makes them very sad, you see. But you're going to remember it. You'll remember it, right? Because they're sad because there's nothing after it. So the Sadducees came who have no resurrection, and they asked him a question. And it's like, all right, what you got? This was a question, saying, teacher, Moses said, now Moses, it just means the Old Testament, okay? They would call it the laws and the prophets. That's what. So they're saying the Old Testament. Moses said, this is a weird, think about this. This is very odd. If a man dies having no children, his brother must marry the widow and raise up offsprings for his brother. So if a man dies, his brother now has got to marry his wife. Now listen, if there's anybody who is looking for a reason to be thankful that we're not under the law anymore, this, guys, this is it. We all have sisters-in-laws, right? I got 3 sisters-in-laws, right? All who I hope are not watching at home right now, right? So it says, marry the widow, raise up the offspring. It says, now, this is where it gets weird. Now, there were 7 brothers among us. And so they're saying what happened is that the first brother died, and so the second brother married the wife. Then the second brother died, then the third brother married the wife. Then the third brother dies, the fourth married him, right? By this time, you're not buying a life insurance policy very easily, okay? By this time, right? So it's like, I'm sure the fifth brother's like, I don't want this. But no. Fifth brother, he marries him. Guess what? He dies, right? And then the sixth brother marries him, and he dies. I'm like, this needs to be a dateline, all right? There's something going on here. And so he said all 7 brothers marry her, and they die. And so when she dies and goes to heaven, which one is she married to? And so the Sadducees are thinking, oh, well, I got you tricked up here because, this whole heaven thing, it won't work if they follow the law of Moses. So who they married to? And so Jesus is like, you don't understand. In heaven, we're not given a marriage, right? I mean, you're going to know each other. You're going to know who they, but you're not given a marriage. And they go, oh, well, that just kind of throws everything off. I know. Jesus is like, come on, you got to bring me something better than that. So they're like, okay, all right, we will. So the Pharisees are like, okay, the Sadducees just struck out. We got another shot at the bat, right? But when the Pharisees heard that he had silenced the Sadducees, right? It's getting confusing, right? But stay with us. They gathered together, right? They huddled up, right? It's like a family feud. Huddle up, we're going to get ready for this one, okay? So they got together, and one of them, a lawyer, you can depend on lawyers, right? They're going to jump in, asked him a question to test him. Teacher, which is the great commandment in the law? So here's the thing is, they got 613 laws, right? 613 laws. So they're saying, which is the greatest, right? Now, here's the thing is that the Pharisees, they kind of ranked their laws, right? Like the really heavy ones, you got to really do these, right? Or they're not, it's kind of like felony and misdemeanors, So they kind of had them ranked out, even though, God doesn't, rank them out, but they had them ranked out. And they were like, these are what we see it, right? And so what do you say, Jesus? Which is like you don't break this one, right? Which is the biggest law? Which one do you think? Jesus. And so everybody's like, ooh, that's a good question. What is the greatest commandment? Jesus like, got no problem with that. He said to them, you shall, and so they're like, oh, I bet it's, you shall not commit adultery. And the other one's like, no, of course it's not. I bet it's, you shall not kill. Oh, well, you got to be kidding, man. It's got to be, you shall not take any other God before me. No. And so they're just kind of, you shall what? Well, shall not. And Jesus is like, no, it's not any of the things about what you shall not do. We need to talk about what you shall do. And so Jesus is like, wait a minute. You shall love. Well, I bet you could hear a pin drop at this moment. What? Love? It's like, yes. Jesus says, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. It's like you love God with everything, right? Now, your heart is the very being of who you are, right? You've got to really love God. When you hear people say, well, I love God, I'm just not doing, following his command, it's like, then you don't love God. Because when you love God with your heart and with your soul, right, that's even your emotions, right? Because, you see people sometimes, they're just worshiping before God, and it's like, God just, they're just weeping and all that, and people go, oh, that's an emotional thing. Well, guess what? God's in control of your emotions as well. It can't be just emotions, but it's part of who you are. And with your mind, your actions, where are you going, what you're doing, it's got to be, you've got to love God with that, right? And so Jesus is saying you need to love God with all you are. And so the Pharisees are like, well, Jesus, wait a minute, though. How can you measure that? Jesus, we need something to measure because we can judge people, right? The church people, we like to do that too, right? We can judge people. We want something to measure. We need to figure out what's the worst thing that they could do. Now, here's the thing is, ChristWay, a lot of times we do the same thing. Christians do the same thing. We want to find the sins that we think are okay and what are not okay, right? We do. We rank them. If you've been in church for a long time, you have ranked sin, right? And sometimes when we rank sin in the acceptable and unacceptable sins, right? Church people do that, right? We'll put in, it's like, well, unacceptable, no gambling, no cars in church, no gambling. Gambling's of the devil, right? But a little bit of gossip, everybody gossips. Everybody loses their temper. And so we have put sins in categories. Even though the Bible doesn't really talk about gambling as a sin, it isn't to us. It's at our church is a sin, right? So we have put that. And you hear people say, I've never had alcohol touch my lips. But I bet too many of them biscuits have, right? Right? Because really it talks about gluttony as a sin, but it doesn't really say that not to drink is a sin. So we do this, church people do this, and we put these rankings. And so they're saying, Jesus, if you say love God, we can't rank that. How can we even measure that? How can we judge somebody and tell them, condemn them, how bad they are? If it's not measurable. Jesus is like, it's not for you to measure. I'm telling you, it's your heart. Jesus was like, he wanted your heart. And so they're like, oh, wait a minute. So he goes on, he tells it, he says, and the second is like it. Whoa, Jesus. They're like ready to jump in on him, right? They're ready to jump on him. Jesus, wait a minute. He's like, we didn't ask you for two. Jesus is like, well, too bad, I'm giving you two. And he said the second is like it. In other words, it's second order, but not second of importance. Okay? It's like it. In other words, they're just the same importance. It's like, okay, well, maybe this is one that, it's like, yeah, here's the second. It's like it. You shall love. Oh, geez, with the love again, right? We just did that. No, wait, no, we didn't do just. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. wow, our neighbor, Jesus, wait a minute, you're just making everything. We want to know the do's and don'ts. And Jesus is like, I want to talk about your heart, right? Because here's the thing that Jesus says, and this is so beautiful. I'm so thankful that Jesus said this because it just puts everything a bow on it. Watch this. This is what Jesus says. He says, on these 2 commandments, you get these 2 right, depends all the law of the prophets. And the law of the prophets are all the Old Testament, right? That's what they call them. They didn't call it Old Testament, they call it the laws and the prophets. All the laws, all of the rules, all of them fall under 2 things. If you get those 2 things right, you don't have to worry about any of the other ones. You know that? If you learn how to love your neighbor as yourself, and you love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, you don't have to worry about the rest of them. They'll all fall in line. Well, wait a minute. What about do not covet your neighbor? Well, if you love your neighbor, you're going to be thankful he has, not covet what he has. Well, what we got to have other God before me? If you love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, there's no room for any other God. You see, if you do these 2, if you take care of the heart, everything else will fall under it. Every one of the 613 laws. I'm like, wow. Wait a minute, guys, we don't really like that. We don't get comfortable with that. And Jesus is like, you have a problem with that? Hey, Jesus is like, well, guess what? You would really have a problem. Because in a day or so from now, I'm going to gather all my disciples together. You know what I'm going to tell them? Because if you have a problem with the love, right? You don't like the love, right? Jesus says, this is what I'm going to tell them. A new commandment I give you. Yes, a command. Please give us a command. That you love one another. Jesus, that's not right. I mean, it's not new. I mean, it's in Leviticus that we love. That's not a new command. Jesus is like, wait, I'm not finished. Just as I have loved you, you also are to love one another. Oh, wait a minute. Jesus like, yes. Jesus like I did. Thomas, you remember you kept doubting Jesus. Yes, quit. Jesus, you keep saying that they're going to call me doubting Thomas. I know, but did I forgive you? Yes, I did, right? Right. Matthew, do you remember how I found you? Do you remember where you were? He's like, Jesus, we weren't supposed to tell everybody I'm a thanks. I know. But then I looked with love in my eyes and I told you, just come on with me, right? Peter, oh, no. Peter's like, oh, don't even start with that. Yeah, well, I don't even have to say anything, Peter. I mean, I've forgiven you. I've loved you guys through that all. And I'm going to say that you need to love others the way I've loved you. You forgive the way I've forgiven you. Like, well, wait a minute, Jesus, you've forgiven me for the same sin over and over again. He's forgiven y'all too for the same sin over and over again. Don't look at me. You're the same. It's like, yeah, that's how you love others. Wow. This is not so sweet and fluffy, is it? No, it's not. And Jesus says, and not only that, I'm going to tell you something else. This is a big deal. He says, by what? This love that you have, all people will know that you are my disciples. If you love one another. They're going to see, would that be crazy? ChristWay, think about this. If the world, if they saw something happen and they saw, wow, man, everybody took care of that person. They must be Christians. That's what it is, right? When they see someone just completely mess up and yet people come around and they love them, then they go, yeah, it makes sense. They're Christians. Must be Christians, right? If that's the way the world saw us, whenever they saw really powerful love, they go, oh, they must be Christians. It will change the world. They don't need to know what we're against. They know what we're against. They need to know what we're for. Jesus is like, this is how they're going to know. Now listen, when I start to say this, I know people start to go, oh, John, you're going to talk about love. It's like, this is fluffy. Or, listen, how is it that the greatest command, we can look at it and go, it's fluffy. That's what sent Jesus to the cross. That's what the Easter is all about. It's about a love that is so overwhelming that it would change. Listen, if the world could see us that way and they go, you must be a Christian because of the way you love others, it would change the world. Everything. We have, at ChristWay, we have Love His Wife. And people go, what is that about, And so we have the t-shirts and people will ask some of our partners, hey, what is that Love Is Why about? I've heard about the Love Is Why. And our partners will go, oh, well, it's something our church is doing. you just lost the opportunity to share the gospel. It's like, oh, it's a program or something? No, you say, because they ask me all the time, excuse me, that sign that's in your front yard, or hey, I saw that shirt, or I see on your window. It's like, I said, nobody explained it. Could you tell me what it is? And I love the opportunity. I go, it's very easy. Love is why Jesus died for us. Love is why. Do you know, we rolled this out back in late part of 2019 and 20. And we put out the billboards and everything. Everybody thought? They thought it was part of the LGBTQ movement. That's what they saw. They saw the billboard and said, oh, what is that? And then later they go, oh no, it's part of the campaign because the Democrats and Republicans were so hard against each other. They were saying, oh, well, guys, let's just love one, let's get along. And so they thought, oh, it's part of that. But no one thought it was from a church. Because churches take credit for everything. Isn't that sad? And when that's exactly what they should see in us, is love is why. Love is why Jesus died for you. Not out of some weird obligation or to control you. This is love. Love drove him to the cross. Love for you. He saw you that amazing. And so I tell people, it's easy. Love is why Jesus died for you. And our love for him is why we follow his commands. It's not because we're trying to earn our salvation. That's done at the cross. We can't do it. And we're not out of some weird obligation or some guilt. It's like we have fallen so madly in love with a God who has set us free that we follow him. That's the gospel. And that's so easy. Each one of us should be able to do that. Each one of us should be able to share the love of Christ with everyone. Love is wide never explains anywhere. And the reason is because we want people to ask you what it is. We want people to come up to your sign and say, can you tell me what that is? Yes. And you can share the gospel. So we all need to know. Now, here's the thing is, we're not going to, yay, that was great. Let's go out. We had a Love is Why sermon. Let's go. No, ChristWay, we don't do that. We're going to take it to the world. We're going to take it to our community first. Part of our vision is what, right? Is that we're going to take the love of Christ to the world. We're going to take it to our community first. And so what we're going to do is actually, and here's the thing. Jesus made it very clear why we do this, right? Jesus said in John, he told us this. He says, if you love me, guess what you're going to do? You're going to keep my commandments. Not if you guilted it enough, then you'll keep my commandments. Have you ever noticed this? And I hope you have. Do you know I rarely ever talk about tithing and money? You ever notice that? A pastor doesn't talk. And then you're going, I think I have. You know why? Because when your heart is right, everything else is going to follow it. And let's just focus in on your heart. I won't have to worry about the rest of it. And that's what Jesus is saying. When you love him, everything else is good. Guess what? Your wallet's going to go with it. Everything about you is going to go with it. And so we're going to take it to the world. This is what we're going to do. Love is Why Week starts March 26th. Mark your calendar. March 26th for a week. Love is Why. We're going to blanket the city with Love is Why. The whole city. It's going to be on billboards, right? It's going to be everywhere. It's going to be in yard signs. It's going to be everywhere. And, for a week, you have enough different colored T-shirts that you could wear one every day, right? And to make it easier for you, actually, we have come out with 2 new colors that will be available next week. Pink, these are not for guys, but I know you guys are going to wear them anyway, okay? I just want you to know it wasn't designed for you, okay? But we have the pink that, there you go, that look cute, right? But we have a green, right? And guys, girls, everybody's going to wear them, right? You want it? Here you go. I got something for you, though. I got something for you because you wanted something. So here's the thing is, we all are going to be a part of this. And so that everybody's going to just, for a week, they're going to go, oh my goodness, can you tell me what it's about? And here's the thing, we got these little things we're going to give out. Everybody's going to be taken with them. And it says love is why, and it says at the bottom, just love is why Christ died for us, our love for him. Just that very, very easy. On the back is a really cool thing, right? On the back, it says our Easter times, right? We just talked about our Easter times. And say, hey, I want you to come with me. Right? Now, don't just hand this to someone. Do something for them. All right? Bake them something. All right? Bake them something. Listen, if they aren't gluten intolerant, don't bake them non-gluten stuff. All right? I'm just going to tell you, they don't like it as much. All right? So bake them something really good. All right? And take it to them and say, hey, I want you to join us. But here's a cool thing. On the bottom, you know what it says? Free breakfast on us. And so you say, hey, when you come, we're going to buy you breakfast. ChristWay, let me tell you something. This is not for you, okay? Don't be going out there and getting these and take them to the bistro, all right? And saying, hey, I got them free breakfast. These are not for you. These are for guests, all right? The ones that for ChristWay people, they look different, right? They look like that. And these, if you are sitting on the front row, there's one under every one of your seats on the front row. So you can grab those, and you're like, and if you're not, those seats that are empty, leave them alone. If you take those, that's called stealing, all right? But we're going to blanket our city with everything. They're going to be overwhelmed. And there are talks even about car flags. Love is why car flags. For 1 week, everybody's going to be like, please somebody tell me. And I'm glad you asked, because I'm going to tell you about the love of Jesus. Can you imagine being in a place where somebody asks you to tell them the gospel? Please, could you please tell me the gospel? I'm glad you asked. It's very easy. Love is why Christ died for you. And our love in return causes us to follow him. That is love. Listen, that's not watered down. That's the most powerful message. And Jesus says it is the greatest command. If anybody says, well, that's water, you say, Jesus said it's the greatest command. How could it be? That is the gospel. It's not watering down the gospel. It is the gospel. That is it. And so he goes on. He's like, now, the Pharisees, I love this part. You know, Jesus has answered all the questions. The Pharisees got shut down, and the Sadducees got shut down. They're all feeling bad, right? And Jesus says, now, let me talk to you. Now, the way that Jesus talks to them, I wouldn't recommend you going into a conversation in this manner. Jesus says, woe to you scribes and you Pharisees, hypocrites. All right? That's not going to start off anything really well, okay? But this is Jesus. Jesus says, for you clean the outside of the cup. You want to make the outside look, you want to do rules and things like that. You want to clean the outside of the cup and the plate. But inside, they're full of greed and self-indulgence, right? What good is it to do all these rules and laws when your heart is full of self-indulgence, selfishness, and greed? Jesus is like, what if we did this? You blind Pharisees, first clean the inside of the cup, right? Once you cover your very heart with love and the plate, that the outside also may be clean. Guess what? When you get the things right with God and your love fills your heart, all the other things are going to take care of themselves. They really will. Let me just make it very easy for you. Here's a little diagram. All right, you need to figure out and understand and grow your love to God, right? God doesn't need to prove his love to you. He's already done that. The cross is everything we need, right? But our love for him is what's in question. Do you love God? Because when you love God, he's like, if you get this right, people, you get you and God right, the people around you are going to notice. Then you can love others. When you learn how to love God, you can love others. That's how it works. And it is so beautiful. Jesus says, man, this is when the world is going to know the truth. This is when it's going to happen. And Jesus says, when you get this right, and then when you get that right, then you're going to love others. And Jesus says, listen, this is so cool. This is so cool. Jesus would tell them this. If you're really confused on how this will look, 3 days from now, I'm going to show you a great example.
I hear the Savior say, thy strength indeed is small. Child of weakness, watch and pray. Find in me thine all in all. 'Cause Jesus paid it all, and all to him I owe. My sin had left a crimson stain, he washed it white as snow. Lord, now indeed I find thy power in thine alone can change the leper's spots and melt the heart of stone. 'Cause Jesus paid it all, and all to him I owe. My sin had left a crimson stain, he washed it white as and when before the throne I stand in him complete, Jesus died my soul to save, my lips shall still repeat. 'Cause Jesus paid it all, and all to him I owe. My sin had left a crimson stain, he washed it white as snow. My sin had left a crimson stain, he washed it white as snow. He washed it white as snow. He washed it white as snow. Jesus, we just thank you for the cross. We just thank you for loving us. Thank you for saving us. So we praise you. Father, we praise you. Oh, praise the one who paid my debt and raised this life up from the dead. Oh, praise the one who paid my debt and raised this life up from the dead. Oh, praise the one who paid my debt and raised this life up from the dead. Oh, praise the one who paid my debt and raised this life up from the dead. Oh, praise the one who paid my debt and raised this life up from the dead. Oh, praise the one who paid my debt and raised this life up from the dead. Jesus. Oh, it's Jesus. There's peace that outlasts darkness, and hope that's in the blood. Future grace that's mine today, that Jesus Christ has won. So I can face tomorrow, for tomorrow's in his hands. the sea is raging, your spirit is my help. He'll fix my eyes on Jesus Christ. I'll say that it is well. Oh, I know that it is well. Fighting a battle that you've already won. No matter what comes my way, I will overcome. Don't know what you're doing, but I know what you've done. 'Cause I'm fighting the battle you already won. I know how the story ends. We will be with you again. You're my savior, my defense. No more fear in life or death. I know how the story ends. We will be with you again. You're my savior, my defense. No more fear in life or death. I know how the story ends. We will be with you again. You're my savior, my defense. No more fear in life or death. I know how the story ends. I'm fighting a battle you've already won. No matter what comes my way, I will overcome. Don't know what you're doing, but I know what you've done. I'm fighting the battle you already won. I'm fighting the battle you've already won. So ChristWay, we just thank you so much for worshiping with us. We love you. Love is why he died for us, and love is why we follow his commands. Let's live it out, right? Come on. Have a great week.
We got to where we feel around